years ago, I was driving back from Amsterdam to The Hague, and it was a Tuesday night in February. It was dark, midnight, and I was tired. I had just been in a 14-hour brand thinking session because we'd been asked by this drugstore chain to come up with a compelling reason why people should buy their products at their store, even though the product was kind of the same and at the same price as any other store, basically. That's the kind of questions you sometimes get when you're a brand developer. So we'd been staring at this box of Tampax and a lipstick all day for inspiration, and my brain was fried. So when I was sitting in the car, I turned on the radio, and I fell straight into this interview with this amazing woman, and she developed an app that you can use on any smartphone, basically, to detect eye disease and prevent blindness. It's an amazing concept with huge impact for all of us. And as I'm listening to that story, I find myself getting really angry. Why am I listening to this on this niche Dutch radio station at 12 o'clock at night on a Tuesday? And why isn't this idea right now on primetime TV? Because, clients such as my drugstore chain, they have the ability to get thousands of people to run for products that are, great in everyday life, but they don't have that big social impact that we're all hoping for. And of course, seen from my expertise, there's many reasons why great ideas sometimes just don't get the attention they deserve. So I'm not naive. I know money is a big problem. There's also a lack of expertise in branding. You can't expect everyone who's trying to make an innovative product to also be a branding expert. But the third more underlying kind of fundamental problem that you see all across the world is that we have this one human assumption, which is that bad products need branding and good products will simply sell themselves. Now, if only that were true. When I was growing up in the 90s and going to design school in the early 2000s, we knew kind of who the good guys and the bad guys were. We had this resident design genius professor. He would walk in every morning with a glass of wine at 10. He would stand up at department meetings and raise his glass and say, "Marketing is for the devil," and sit back down. But over the next 10 years, I realized when I was working in the field that things just aren't so black and white. I worked in Mali, where I was horrified to find that this campaign had been developed by an international NGO, actually was so effective in warning people against the danger of HIV/AIDS that actually turned out stigmatizing people who were already affected. And I worked with a fast fashion retailer in Germany who decided, even though their customers weren't ready for it yet, that they were going to create 3% of their collections in bio-organic cotton. And they branded it really well and marketed it, and it got a lot of attention. And they sold this product to people who had never believed in that kind of thing before. And so I realized, okay, social sector isn't per definition good, and business isn't per definition bad. And maybe it's time for us to step over that traditional divide, that binary thinking in good and bad. Maybe it's time to merge the best of those both worlds. So I couldn't be happier to live in this time where we have this third alternative emerging, which is the road of social entrepreneurship. And it's great that it's there, and we can now all sit back and lean back and think, hey, great, the solutions are on their way. But as with the speakers that we see today, it's not just about getting your first idea out there, it's about getting it in front of the audiences that need to know about it. So branding can be really crucial in helping these people with these great new ideas and services to actually get in front of those audiences. And people ask me all the time, like, what's the best known brand? But they also ask me, what is branding exactly? So in its most simplest form, branding is about framing who you are and what you do and why that matters, and being very strategic about finding the audience that you deserve, finding out who needs to know and how they're going to find out, and being very strategic about that, and not leaving things to chance. So last summer, I made it my quest to open up brand thinking to a new generation of changemakers. I distilled everything I knew into tangible, easy-to-use models. I developed these workshop concepts and tested them. I got a suitcase and everything I need to become a mobile branding agency. and I started on my journey. I worked with surfer, activist, and scientist Dr. Eski Britton in Donegal, Ireland. Eski rides these waves that are just insane. For her, she's the head and the heart of a dozen amazing initiatives, from teaching women how to surf in Iran, to setting up a line of sustainable surf holidays, to organizing summits. And as a matter of fact, she was doing so many great things that it was getting difficult for people to get what it was that she was doing, and also a little bit difficult for herself to retain that focus. So we spent a day together really digging deep into all her different activities, talk about her mission, what it is that she's trying to achieve, what the world is that she's trying to fight for, and talk about the values that were instilled upon her from when she was just 4 years old, when she first set foot on the surfboard. And we discovered that as a red thread lying underneath everything, there was a surfer's way to social change, using surfing as a method to unleash the mentality of surfing and the physical experience of surfing and the spiritual connection people feel with the ocean, and using that to help people live their best lives and be kind to the environment. And once we had this focus, it was really easy for us to actually decide which products and projects belonged to her and which maybe she should let go. We knew which book to write and what movie to make, and especially we knew how to move forward and develop new products and services and new future events. And when we started looking at audiences, we realized there was this entire group of corporates that we'd previously overlooked that would actually provide her with this financial sustainability that she really needs for her initiatives in the future. I also worked with a global educator who has this revolutionary new design method that teaches children to become designers and use their natural empathy and creative problem-solving skills and work with new technology to design solutions for everyday problems, from their dad not being able to find the house keys all the way to solving the plastic soup in the ocean. Amazing organization. So we developed the brand, created an identity, designed the media, but we knew that we needed to get momentum because we don't want to do everything on a one-on-one business pitch or just expect people to find the website. So we realized we needed to make it absolutely impossible for people not to write about us. So we created this concept called the Global Children's Design-a-thon. It's one day where children in 5 global cities last November got together to design solutions to make their cities a little bit of a better place to live. And it was an amazing day, and the children learned a lot and had a great time, which is of course the most important thing. But also, we proved the method. You get great products from great kids, and it's amazing to hear their ideas. And what was super important for the brand was the fact that finally, we get the audience that we deserve. We get national news, we get the biggest online platform about innovation in the world, and then the ball started rolling. The educators and the policymakers started to come to this client. And if branding can help accelerate a surfer in Ireland and help children design solutions across the world, then for sure, branding can help women in Saudi Arabia to enter the job market. I was really honored that I was asked last year to adapt the brand strategy canvas that I developed for the use of female students in a career readiness program in Saudi Arabia last year. And the funny thing is that when you're a developer in San Francisco or an aspiring fashion buyer in Riyadh, we are all people, and if we're looking for a job, we need to think about our strengths and how we're going to present ourselves. We need to think about the future employer and what they might be looking for and how they're going to find out about us. And that's what branding can do. So it's incredibly satisfying for me to work on these projects, and if you would have told me that 10 years ago, even 1 year ago, that I would be doing this kind of work through branding, I would have not believed you. And it's amazing because if you draw a line from me all the way back to Eve, I'm the first woman in that line to have the privilege to actually have a degree beyond my high school. And my mom was actually the first generation of women who weren't automatically fired once they got married. So the story of social impact is not just about countries far away, it's for all of us, and it's for here as well as there. So when you start to feel part of this kind of global movement of people who want to move forward, you can really start to think big. So I was back in The Hague. I think I did 50,000 K in flying. I realized if branding can help frame what it is that you do, then it can also help you reframe what it is that you do. So I asked a friend of mine, who's a colonel in the Dutch Air Force, what would it mean if the Ministry of Defense would become the Ministry of Peace? What does it mean for the people you hire and the material you buy and the locations you go and the communication with your audiences? What does this mean, this brand strategy of simply not defending peace, but promoting peace actively? And once you start thinking about that, let's not think about just what happens in the Netherlands, but what happens if you think about a brand strategy of promoting peace for all the world's armed forces. Now, I can talk a lot about thinking big and scaling and have a huge impact, but I am basically just a one-woman operation. And I have a remote team of freelancers, but I'm also small. And I realized that I need to open up the tools that I've developed in that method, so it's going to be published later this year. There's going to be a workbook built around it, so that basically everyone can design their own brand strategies without me being in the room. This workbook will become part of a school for social entrepreneurship in Nairobi and Sao Paulo. Because imagine what happens when you actually empower this entire new generation of people who are setting up ventures with great ambition for social impact. What if these people have the kind of expertise and knowledge and skills that they need in order to make sure that the venture concept actually reaches the right audiences and is able to scale big? Because if there's one thing I've learned in the past 10 years of traveling, is that there's people with amazing talent and amazing projects everywhere. And the thing is, you can't just expect a great idea to spread on its own. You need to spread great ideas, but you can't leave it to chance. What if, for instance, we could make it as attractive for people to eat insects as it is now to eat seafood? Or what if we could make a designed and made in Ethiopia shoe brand to outsell the current ubiquitous sneaker? It can all be done, but we can't leave things to chance. So in a perfect world, all these great ideas from all these great change makers, they would totally travel on their own. But this isn't a perfect world. And until that world is here, we're going to have to be professional about how we brand stuff. We need to open up that knowledge so that we can level the playing field and make sure that everyone can take advantage of it. And I'm going to work to empower these change makers. I'm going to make a lot of miles, and I hope that you will follow me. Thank you.